yéen a ngi déglu Freedom Radio fii nii Gambia fii nii tey di la wax tey la civics education on Thursday tey di 25th of December 2025 dina wax ne ñu ngi am honorable Mamadi Kurang from UDP di leen wax ne tey nag ñu ngi am ay questions yoo xam ne askan bi ñu ngi ko laajte ba pare xam naa ne dinañ ko laaj tamit political contribution am yim niñ ko xamee si Gambia ñu door intro den ñu dem si programme bi.
Thank you very much. GYG, remind some audience that they are listening to Freedom Radio with their presenter Jarra. And then our guest tonight is Alagie Mamadi Kurang. And we also have our panelists, Gibril Fadia and Tnoy Pa. But first, I would like to ask Mr. Kurang, which one of the local language would you like to communicate with, either Olaf or Madika?
Yeah, I think either of them is fine. Any of them we can keep changing, no problem.
Then we can use the Wolof dialect.
No problem. That's why I said
we can mix it. Yeah, Wolof, Mandinka, English, Sarahule, everything.
And even Jola, right?
Yeah, and even Jola. Yeah, we are multicultural here.
No problem.
Okay. The Dr. Kurang didn't book a brief biography of yourself concerning your educational background and your profession, and then where you were born, your place of birth, or other. So can you kindly give us a brief biography of yours?
Yeah, thank you, Mamadi Kurang. Just call me Mamadi Kurang. Alagie Mamadi Kurang is my full name, and I was born in Kurang, Nyamina East. I went to school in Kurang Primary, and then I went to St. Mary's Primary in Banjul, where I started my common entrance. And I went to St. Augustine's High School, where I did Form 1 to 5. I did O-levels in 1989, and I got a distinction, pass. And I went to the 6th form. I studied commerce, and I was a head boy in the 6th form. And I sat to the A-levels. And I got a Commonwealth scholarship to study in Kuala Lumpur. And I studied a bachelor's in economics. Before going to Kuala Lumpur, I worked for a few months, about 9 months in Gamtel. And I went for the bachelor's in economics. I did a bachelor's in economics, and while I was doing towards the end of my bachelor's in economics, I pursued the ACCA, which is a professional qualification that I came to complete later in the Gambia. I graduated with bachelor's in economics honors in 96. So I came back to the Gambia, and I worked in a construction company as an accountant. Then I worked at the Islamic Bank as an investment banker and as an auditor. And I left, and within that time, I completed my ACCA as a chartered accountant. And I started Jollof Tutors in 2000. And since then, I will have done several assignments, consultancies for companies, NGOs, for government bodies, international organizations, such as the ActionAid, USAID in Liberia, the government of Liberia, the Accounting Institute of Liberia, and been training accounting and technology and management and all kinds of subjects at Jollof Tutors for the past 25 years. Among the consultancies, I was a consultant as a secretary to the Janet Commission and also a consultant to the local government commission. So over the years, my background in economics, accounting, and technology, I have more become like maybe a trainer and a management consultant and sometimes a forensic auditor. Yeah, so this is my life. Maybe you would like to ask some questions.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Mr. Kurang, am nga sa political rights bu nga xam ne constitution bi moo la ko jox am nga right pour sànni carte te am nga right tamit pour taxaw election te am nga right pour form political parties te tamit am nga right tamit pour join si any political party bu la neex waaye soo ko seetee si njëlbeen bi yow electorate nga woon da nga doon sànni carte waaye musuloo contest the election te musuloo taxawal parti te tamit nekkuloo woon parti executive member waaye nag gannaaw gi nag fu mu ne nii gis nañ la nga dugg si politique dañ bëgg nga wax ñu lan moo tax de nga dugg si politique.
Yeah, politics mom ku nekk da nga am sa convictions. Man, my conviction mooy I want to see a better Gambia. I want to see a better country. I live in Gambia for more than 25 years. And most of it is trying to help to develop other people so that they become productive, you want to contribute to society. Manlo Lane Karide for 25 years, most of it in the classroom, and maybe, like I said, helping other organizations to perform or grow up or to set up. So I feel that, yeah, I have done that for more than 2 decades. I can do something different. I can try and, extend my experience and my skills to other areas. So this is what convinced me to join politics, because I feel I can make a difference, and I feel that there is something to be done. There is a lot to be done in this country, considering that for 55 years, for people like us, it's easy. We started in years.
Didn't like tamit political parties yi bari nañ ci réew bi fii ni lu ko waral mooy Gambia is a multi-party. It's a multi-party. Policy moo nekk di dox fii nii mooy ne political parties yi dinañ mun a bari waaye nag yow sa assessment si current political parties yi nekk si réew bi fii nii lan mooy sa assessment mooy les political parties yi nekk si réew bi fii naka nga leen tànnee da nga xam ne di nga leen mun a categorize lan mooy sa assessment political parties yi si political arena bi si jamono bi nii lan mooy sa assessment.
Small assessment.
Wow. Mbaa naka nga apprécié political parties yi
xam nga naka lañ ko dee waxee ci soose moo be ka foy la bori le tiw koo laaj rek daf la dee wax ne ñun ñoo nekk top ñoo nekk di def lu ñu war a def waaye dangay gis ne politics bi su naxaatee amul xam nga dañ war a luñ war a xool dafa leer ba pare because
mun nga tontu si kàllaama soos ñu dugga si boobu because yaa ngi jox fi di benn programme bu ne
mobe ka fala borle tiw membe kere mo abebe senari na set kabrin katen fighter 2021 up to now 2020 going to 2026 for the 5 years Jumal be political political of course NPP they are the government they have to politic because they want to remain in power Urukela privilege will protect, not because of the love of country, but for the love of the privileges. So they have to protect it, and they want to protect it, and they are going to protect it. But then, up number two, the UDP has been campaigning, from 2021 presidential elections, for the last 5 years in so many different ways. Apart from that, I have seen the GDC, campaigning and trying to lost some MP positions, and they have also lost some councilorships. The NATO Alliance is a movement, whatever you call it, whether it's a movement or political. They've been sustaining and campaigning. The APRC, has been campaigning, even though they are aligned with the ruling parties, and one can say that once the ruling party machinery and oil is what is moving the APRC Fabakari. But then the APRC NATO Alliance is campaigning. So basically, if you ask me, I'm sure you say I analyze, you're talking about 2026 in America or in Inca. 2026.
What I mean is, what is your assessment of the current political parties that are in the political arena right now? What is your assessment so that, you can categorize them?
Yeah, but what I've given you so far is assessment of the other of about 4 parties, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah. So if that is an assessment, the other parties, even if you put all of the activities organized by the rest of the parties, the independent movements and so on, apart from the ones which I have named just now, NPP, UDP, APRC, APRC, NATO Alliance, and then GDC. Apart from all the others, if you put the activities together, all of them together, the crowds they pull and the number of people that answer to their call is not more than the NATO Alliance crowd. That's the reality. Show me the pictures. Show me the numbers. Walam tonyati. Kuol belari walenyama. Utolka tamale kabrinjam for banza. If you bring all the other opposition now, what they organized from 2021 up to now, bring me the pictures now and put it on your page. All the crowd that they pull is not more than the NATO Alliance crowd. So this is the reality. So we are going back. What we are going to make sure is that the UDP is going to win in 2026. We're going to make sure that the results are announced at midnight before people go to bed. There is no reason in a country of 1 million voters, which I can count by my hand, in 2 hours, I can count million tokens with my bare hands, that if Dakar, which is bigger than the Gambia, can announce their results before 10 p.m., there will be no excuse and no reason and no stammering that the results will be announced before midnight. And the UDP, what I've seen, I'm just from the ground. Regular ground. Sign number the ground. And me, I'm a ground man. There is no village here where I don't have a student. It's very few. And that must be some very small village like Kurang. But what I'm trying to tell you is that what I have seen, Gambians are moving away from Barrow. That's what I analyze. The NPP, no matter how much money they spend, no matter how big they are, people are moving away from Barrow simply because of corruption. There is no trickle down. The Barrow system is a complete example of African capitalism. Few people just capitalizing on the economy and monopolizing everything. Nothing is trickling down to the economy. Maybe some road contractor has become a billionaire or a multi-millionaire. But then the people who are applying on the road are living the poorest kind of life this country has ever seen. When they used to have groundnut and rice to feed them for the whole year, now basically they have to depend on their children to even buy a bag of rice. So where is it? The poverty is just rampant. And a few people associated with the Barrow are getting rich with contracts that are opaque, not announced. You understand what I mean? The political situation right now, what I've seen from Mount Fana to Balangar to Basse, people are ready. We are going back. URR is no more going to be an NPP stronghold. Take it from me and bring me back here in another 1 year time. I'm going to tell you that the URR, nothing will be left unturned. Barrow is selling a story of I am building roads. Come on, you, the people in the media, should know what roads are Barrow building. Jawara sliced the Jahali Konko like a piece of watermelon. He sliced the Bansang Konko into pieces just like a papaya. You know, he sliced all the Nema Konkos in Kiang. Jawara did that. Which Konko, which hill did Barrow slice in this country? Barrow never sliced a single hill in his life. But all the roads which passed through Mankamankunda were built by Jawara. When it broke down in the 1980s, Yaya Jammeh came back in the 1990s and built all the roads from Banjul to Basse, and then from Esau to Pasamas. Only Jawara and Yaya Jammeh did that. Barrow just connects some few villages with a lot of money gone. People know that kickbacks is the main engine of this economy. Kickbacks will not buy votes in this country. Kickbacks will not stop us from announcing the results at midnight, because 1 million people, the size of the city of Kaulak, and then they are telling us when Kaulak can announce its results, you know, instantly, 3 hours after election, and then Gambia cannot announce it. How many hours? 24 hours after election. Barrow cannot win because the people are hungry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kurang.
Yeah.
But now, if you look at the Gambian political arena, politics of castigation becomes order of the day, rather. Molbe nyo kajafi la politiko to. Molbe nyo telin na politiko to. Bari Gambian lafta munela, olem ila problemo mo minti abe Jarra la nyami, Gambian lafta ila problemo le Jarra, Gambian lafta puarea e boli bangoka, Gambian lafta balwo e sonia nyim bangoka, Gambian lafta Jarralo e sonia nyim bangoka, Gambian lafta transportation ye sonia nyim bangoka, Gambian lafta local ye sia nyim bangoka, Gambian sula de fen jamala mialoko min manke politiko di mialoko kanyo castigate kanyo tailing kanyo tumi ya mira Gambia la political arena mosa ke no nyadile fo ya longo constructive politics o ye soto no je I know no je
our politics manke like when you are praying, you are doing prayers. When you are doing universally, like Bismillahirrahmanirrahim is compulsory and is always the first. There is no such rule in politics. So you will not be able to name me one country, whether it's Donald Trump's America or Ronald Reagan's America, whether it's Winston Churchill's UK or John Major's speeches at the House of Commons, or whether it's the German Doma. There is no political entity in this world whereby people do not carry conjectures and jokes together with serious issues. If you listen to the past 15 days that we have been in the field, Hussein Dabo has consistently in every speech talked about almost every major area of the country, agriculture, to education, to health, to infant mortality, the price of groundnuts, the falling dalasi, the level of corruption, the poor health conditions, the expecting mothers dying, the backway problem, all of them in his speeches. So his speeches are full of content and issue, and that's our party leader. And he does that for almost 30 minutes for more than 10 days. So who is going to ask more about issue? Now, people come together with that, like every civilized country, people must make references, and even the Quran has got some garwale against shaitan. Do you read the Quran? There is garwale. Wakana min al-zalimin. Wakana min al-jinn. Wakana kafirun. The Quran makes, conjectures against its enemies. So in politics, all these politicians, I tell you, when I was not in the UDP, some of my best friends are in the UDP. All right. And still I left Doi. Some of my best friends are still there. We don't talk these things personal. But we have to use conjectures. Why we go to school and learn languages is to be able to express ourselves in different ways. So in order for us to be able to make people understand the gravity of the matter on the ground, we have to use what we learn, whether it is by organizing some comedy in central London, in downtown New York, or in the streets of Hollywood in Los Angeles, or on the markets of Serakunda. Politicians must make use of what society has. God has gifted man with so many talents. Why Gambians keep asking other Gambians, don't use your talent? You gotta make conjecture so that people will, the crowd need to move constantly from one mood to the other. Otherwise, with just one mood, it will be like a Friday sermon. Nobody wants to stay in a Friday sermon for more than 30 minutes. So if you do that, then people start moving to the other mosque. What about a politician that wants to talk about the same thing for 30 minutes? People will move to other political arenas. You cannot control human nature. You got to study it and adjust to it. These people of this country are not stupid. What they decide is what we will follow. All that they want is once we go to power, we don't steal their money.
Thank you very much. But in politics, you have something called destructive politics, and you have constructive politics. In the Gambia here, you see people insulting parents of politicians, and most of those people are supporters of political parties. Some of them are militants of political parties, but we are not seeing the executive of their various political parties condemning that awful act, because there is no principle in politics that pave a way or that encourage supporters or party militants to insult other people's parents. If they do so, that is a destructive politics. But frankly, we need constructive politics. So how are we going to put constructive politics in place? What are your suggestions to that? How to build a constructive politics whereby no political parties and party militants and party supporters will sell the agendas of their political parties, will sell the manifesto of their political parties to the people?
Yeah, one way is the media is very important. And the media has to define itself, because there is a question of a media has to decide, am I a tabloid? Or am I a tabloid that you can just pick up when you are coming out of the New York tube station in the evening? Or I am a serious newspaper like New York Times or Washington Times or the LA Times. You have to define yourself as a media. So over time, our media will must realize that they need to define themselves. What the media, why I'm saying that is because what the media pays attention to is very important. If political party leaders come across and rally after rally, give out, the party manifestos and the party objectives and constructive criticisms by the political top leadership of the political leader and his lieutenants. None of that contains insults, none of that contains anything, but it contains so many issues to be debated. If the journalists are not picking on those particular points and bringing them on the broad media, right, or the mainstream media, and then making them subjects of discussion so that the citizenry can focus on what the media is focusing on. But if the media, out of 20 speeches, in a rally of 10 rallies, you would have had each rally about 10 speakers, that's 100 speakers. If the media decides not to pick any one of those 100 speakers and bring that topic into the mainstream for discussion, instead they go to some remote social media account and then bring up maybe an anonymous account with an anonymous identification in a country in which even the social media is better, but locally, if it's in a radio station or in a WhatsApp audio, even addresses, if you want to deliver a mail, you don't know where to deliver it and who to deliver it in Latrikunda Savage. Where exactly is the road system and the address and which house number? It doesn't exist. So you don't expect a party to constantly police that. A party can police what is said on its official media. For example, the platforms and the rallies it organizes and the meetings it organizes, as well as the official platforms that it has. But on some remote area, we are not, the media or the person who is giving it relevance is not able to identify the source of the insult. And then just because of some misidentification or whatever, brings it up and make it a topic of discussion. So I am saying that the media must define itself. Which medias belong to the tabloids. Let them deal with the tabloids, which is also important in politics. But those media that deals with serious issues must continue to emphasize serious issues. I think this, for me, is one of the ways to deal with. But I have not seen anybody. I've been, for example, in the UDP for 2 weeks, and then I've gone on a tour, for about 10 days. And then during that 10 days, I have listened to more than 100 speeches from different people. I have not had even one person even mention another political party in a negative way. None one. 100 speeches. Are you hearing me? Hello? 100 speeches. Yes. 100 speeches. Over 100 speeches.
Yeah.
Not one of those speeches, right, has referenced even one other opposition party apart from the ruling party. I mean, just to mention them in a negative way. No one in 100 speeches. And then all of them focus on the ruling party. I mean, is that not the politics we are looking for? Is that not worth talking about? And then if some militant out there that is not even known to anybody, how can everybody know in a party of 100,000 people who is who in details in a country without even address systems, much more telephone directory? So I am saying that let us emphasize what is important for the unity of the country and to bring our country together. And where people emphasize on policy issues, let the media track those down and make it a point of discussion.
Okay,
Tijan, before you come in, there's one thing that I would like to clarify. We had a particular politician saying that anybody who does not join NPP, that person is not an illegitimate. That person is not that person is an illegitimate child. It means the person was not born in matrimony. And then also we had another politician also who called a particular person that in a Mandinka dialect that the president does not appoint anybody to be an advisor except Fali Baila. So these were words that were coming out from the mouths of politicians. And you have them rampant. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So those kind of political statements are not constructive at all. They are destructive. And then if the politician, if we want to have a constructive politics in the Gambia, of course the media also have to play its part. But what about the politicians who should sell their agenda, who should sell their manifesto? Why did you leave them behind? Why did you just outline the media that the media has to play a pivotal role in order to have a constructive politics in the Gambia? What about the politicians? What about the political parties?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a point. And one thing I like about politics is that it's almost just like football, in the sense that your efforts will be rewarded and your mistakes will be punished. It's just like what we call in economics, it's a free market, with free flow of information. Arbitrage is very, very difficult. It's difficult to outsmart other people in politics. Why? You can be working in a bank and then somebody is doing something, nobody knows about it. That's a banking arena, in a trading arena. In politics, a lot of things are on the board. First of all, insults. For me, my personal conviction is that those who insult are only harming themselves. Because what is the purpose of their insults? Maybe whatever frustration they may have, it means that they are basically about to lose the game. Because to insult means simply you don't have anywhere else to hold on to, and you just want to aggravate it into another level. So you have lost the argument, and once you've lost the argument, maybe you've lost your senses. And then when you lose your senses, I feel sorry for you, because I don't think you're gonna gain anything from that. As a politician, it's very obvious why I say politics like football, because if a politician makes those kind of obnoxious and very, very politically incorrect remarks, in this modern world of technology, they become highlighted. You remember when a politician called some demonstrators cockroaches? He almost went into hiding for so many months. So it takes away your fixed deposit. It erodes your reserves, your political reserves, or bank. If it's imagine it in the form of a bank account. It erodes it. It depreciates it. It dilapidates it. So when you are ready to go that line, then you have to ask people like Jame who went that line before. You're gonna end up, just in the dustbin. You see, because voters do not come out and then react to you just out of the blue, or because at that moment they don't have the platform, they don't have the bully pulpits that you have. So they're gonna listen to you, and they're gonna keep it, reserve it at the back of their mind in their bank savings books. When they go to the polling booth to deposit, they're gonna take it from your account and deposit it into somebody's account simply because what you do. So society will not tolerate that, because Gambian society does not compensate people for insults, whether you insult them or not. If you're an insulter, you are going down. So I think we are seeing politicians harming themselves, harming their political parties if they do that. That's why I said, let's watch what they say on their platforms. Let's watch what they say on their interviews. Because when we watch that, we will see their true nature. And as we are watching it, voters are watching it also. I don't think those people who do that will be sustainable in politics. I mean, I believe that you can go to the media and say anything. You can do interviews 24 hours a day. You don't necessarily have to degrade people down in order for you to get listeners or for you to get an audience. I believe that the ideas that come out of you is what will make people be willing to listen to you. So fekkene yow da nga nekk di saga foog ma ne loolu dina nekk loo xam ne dina add to your bank account or your voters account. So, ni more than can I believe eventually the price in Jola at a heavy, very heavy cost.
I now hand over the mic to T-Boy. T-Boy would like to ask question. T-Boy.
Well, jërëjëf PMJ, jërëjëf Mr. Kurang, ñu welcome la back Freedom Radio. Mr. Kurang, ñun interview nañ fi Ousainou Darboe, Honorable Ousainou Darboe, UDP, laaj nañ ko affaire yi coalition, lan la Foxy coalition, that was I think April lañ ko interview woon. Ousainou li mu wax ne mu ne moom pare na pour coalition, ibina buntay pour ñëpp. Halifa Sallah tamit interview nañ ko fi mu ne the same moom it moom is open for coalition ak ñeneen a yeneen a leaders. Waaye question bi mooy ne rek Gambia, is it divided or is it united? Parce que gis nañ bu yàggut PMJ laajte na ko ne am na ñoo xam ne ñu ngi wax ne ñoom duñ dem fekki UDP su di UDP buggee fekkal leen daal comme like ne kenn buggut a dem daal di approach keneen so ba pare gis nañ ne America fana we all know it America two political parties lañam ak the third fana mooy the independent ñooñu they are not even so known waaye ñun lu tax ñun ñu nekk yaa ko fi mention 1 million people ñooy register xëy pour vote bi so ba pare ñun ñu am more than 22 opposition people ñoo xam ne they all want to be president. So do you think that, you know, we are united or are we divided?
First of all, when it comes to America, more than 100 or 200 candidates. You know, because when you look at it, the only difference is that, you know, they have a rationalized, systematized, you know, over history system of dropping people, using the efficient market system, you know, without necessarily any regulation or any fight. You get dropped, and you either drop yourself or you get dropped without any fight, no hassle, because the criteria are clear. Because so they make it Democratic Party be chibopam. Then they muna about 50 people initially who are contesting to be president through the Democratic Party. You go to the Republican, they will start with about 50 people. Then you will have maybe another 50 independents there. But what happens is that then if you don't get this amount of support, percentage of support, and they are able to calculate it very well with the media and the technology and the address systems and the are all regulated. So you can take pools in Basse because you know how many houses are there, you know house numbers. You can take pools in Farafenye. In America, they can do that because their streets are numbered. So they have information which is accurate. So they can take statistics and tell you, no, you have only 1% support. Even before the polls, you have 1% support. You can never deny it because the statisticians have calculated it. The media has calculated it. All the polls are speaking the same thing, different independent bodies. So out of the 50 Democrats, they can drop, they get dropped one by one, either by the media or by the television or by the sponsors or by the voters. They get dropped and then they end up with 2 or 3 who go around and then compete, or 5 or so, and then eventually they'll be dropping. Then towards the end of the primary, they will have 2 candidates, Hillary and Obama, for example, and then they will end up with 1. All that is systematic over 200 years. They have perfected it. They have done it. You understand? We have a democracy that's only 8 years old, and then the Republicans will do the same. The independents will start dropping, except people like George Soros and Ross Perot. They will make it to the polls, and they will tell you, if you don't get this percentage, you cannot come for the debates. So they have criteria, and they are scientific criteria. So politics there has become scientific. When politics is scientific, survival of the fittest, people get dropped or drop out without any quarrels. Yeah. That does not happen. In our country right now, you have people who never have done 3 villages. You have developed meeting. in more than 3 villages. Smalane village. I mean, like in the Gambia, do you know how many villages are in this country? According to the national statistics, there are about 1,850 something settlements. What is a settlement? Tipakunda is a settlement. Jarra Soma is a settlement. Kaur is a settlement. Latirkunda Jaman is a settlement. Kotu is a settlement. Basse is a settlement. There are 1,800. Gambia neku dekabu tuti de. Yo 1,800 bogu nonu rek so deme farafenye demulo si doka yundawi mine ñun gisuñ ko. Bro mo tax nguur bi de win. Ne understand nga? Because nguur bi def de muna dem fu nekka. Yo demulo out of 1,873 50 something villages. You haven't even gone to 5 of them or 10 of them or 20 meetings. Village bu nekk dang fa wara am meeting. Sa gaay dañ fa wara ote meeting. So ote meeting kudang demulo sotokoy amulo sotoko wa sotokoy xamuñ la. Fidu America duñ la xam, not that there's a television in every bantaba or every shop or every bitik bu nekk dafa am CNN and so on. Anywhere you go to your farm, you have the in your farm rest house at the restaurant in the farm, you have a video there. You go to the traffic, ci garage bi yangi am television. Fidu America. So deme Latrikunda Jaman demulo talinding xamuñ la. So 1,800 villages. Now be realistic. I am a statistician. I am also an economist and I'm an accountant. I know how to calculate cost. How are you going to visit 1,850 something villages as a political party? You haven't done that. Only the NPP and the UDP can do that right now. Nobody else can do that.
Yeah.
So when you have that happening, you know that happens. Only those two parties can do that right now. So anybody else who is making any noise, like on that them now 1,852 villages. Does he have a president there? Does he have a spokesperson there? Does he have a committee there? Does he even have a representative there? Does he even have a sympathizer there? Do they even know him in those 1,800 villages? Manila Nyamina East alone has 50-something villages. Dangajis fi Bena ward, 50-something villages no faneka, one ward or one village. So join a politics, then they forget Gambia, the Fatuti. Gambia Tuti would de.
Wow.
Gambia Waratale. Because more people are settled everywhere. People are settled all over the country. Out of 11,000 square kilometers, for them Dekala. For them Dagado, from Deka to Deka, you can always walk. So just imagine, the villages are scattered all over the country. Now you don't go there, you are going to be a flag bearer. Me, I was an independent candidate. I hold more than 300 meetings because I did it for 1 year, and every day I had a meeting except for a few days. So 365 days, I did about 300 meetings. Still that I did not cover even half of the country. You understand what I mean? So I'm telling you that when you talk about, we are a political party, you go to IEC, you register, you pay your 1 million, and you say you are a political party. I can still raise 20,000 people, and other people can do that. But what I'm telling you is that I hold 300 meetings. You haven't been to 100 villages. You haven't been to 200 villages. My friend, you haven't been to 300 villages or 500 villages. You say you are negotiating to be a flag bearer. Come on, man.
Wow. Boy won the second question because there are so many people coming to there you get register. Young major example of America. Of course, why America they are doing that from the same party. From the same party like guy the jealous and members. Why fee is a different political party with different names registered. So with different flag bearers. So there is the Gambia is 2.5 million. 1 million registration vote because you bari duñ vote because situation bi ñu bari xam waaye pour génne fi mu nekk nii président bi nga xam ne ñaari yoon la toog foofu noonu without coalition so waxee APP ñu ne ñoom okay they are ready but they will not go to people so comme like kenn bëggut daal kenn jiite la so waaye Halifa Sallah yaa ngi woon doy Halifa ne moom it mooy nekk flag bearer Ousainou Darboe moom it mu ne mooy nekk APP Mama Kandeh GDC loolu du affect all political parties ba pare jox advantage the incumbent comme like Barrow fi mu nekk si sa opinion loo foog.
Oh, not. Dynamics is very fluid. Dynamics is very fluid. It's very, very difficult to make a fixed analysis. One day, for me, what I see is that the family, it can go anywhere. Because if you ask me from my personal point of view, well, you will not exactly have two coalitions because two flag contenders, incumbent and so on, but it has never happened in the history. Even 2016, when we removed Yahya Jammeh, there was three. There were basically three contenders. So, if we can win it for the opposition in 2016, maybe 4 or 5 can still win it for the opposition. Nobody can disclaim that statistically. Nobody can say that it's statistically impossible. And I know that the UDP, no matter what, they will have their coalition. And the only thing that stopped the oppositions from having so much coalition is last time is most of the independent candidates went up to the presidency. But they already know. For so they may say, Barrow, he just want to use you for that objective. And then, I think basically almost all of them have left. Now they are doing something else different from B. So that's a lesson that in coalition, you don't go to Barrow. So now that they landed, I don't think there will be no crazy, unless there are political parties which are formed by Barrow, they are registered as proxies by NPP. But if they are not proxies and they are thinking people, they will not flow to Barrow like how they flowed to Barrow in 2016. Forget it. Don't do because they are, one, they learn their lesson. Two, after dafa gëna leer fu mu nekk nii Barrow ñi xam nañ fu mu tegu where the government is. So anybody who goes there, we know he set you up, or you just sell out yourself, and then you will end up like how they end up last time. All the independent candidates who went to Barrow. So there will be coalition. The UDP, I believe, will have a coalition. I don't know with who and with who. There might also be a third coalition, which is the NPP coalition, UDP coalition, and there might be a third coalition. Like I said, the three forces in 2016. So, but that does not mean that there may not be a third and a fourth. But how significant will it be? If you have right now in this country, in reference to your colleague's question, so I'm a NPP, I'm UDP. So there is another coalition that contains GDC. We still back to square one. If GDC goes there, and then you have a third coalition, what is left now in the political field? Tell me. If you have NPP coalition, UDP coalition, GDC coalition, it's finished just now. It's good. It can go anyway. It can go be like 2016. It can come to the UDP, and the UDP is getting momentum by the political disaster because I'm don't want to argue with the Marsevi. The Marsevi is very bad because the Dalasi has depreciated in 10 years more on the Barrow than on the Jarra, more on the Barrow than on the Jammeh. So because of the depreciation of the Dalasi, which Barrow cannot control if he does not control discretionary expenditure. Discretionary expenditure more neka problem because his analysts, his advisors, his financial gurus, they're telling him, Mr. President, you can spend and spend. Like they used to tell Idi Amin. Idi Amin had the guns, Barrow had the honey and the butter. So because of the guns, they're telling Idi Amin, you can print more money. And because of the honey and the butter that Barrow is giving them, the experts are telling him, Mr. President, you can spend. But they don't they knew, and Barrow must realize, you cannot spend when you don't produce. You cannot continue keeping spending. That is going to make your currency fall. So he has no control over his currency. Therefore, he has no control. He has Boa in the central bank who is not interested in helping the currency gain momentum. So he has no control over his currency. He has no control over the prices in the market. then he will lose popularity, just like how the dollar is losing value. And then at the end of the day, in 2026, December, the Gambians will decide between three coalitions. Three coalitions. The UDP is the most vibrant of all those three coalitions. It's got more conviction, more base. What I have seen, areas where the UDP, from 1st of January, bala 1st January lala wasa, have be dufadan, NPP dañ ko dan baye, URR, CRR, naka, whatever you call it, West Coast, the Fonies, the Nyomis, mane fala bi neka fum neka ni UDP fofu la ñoo sampa sun ker mbay na ñantam bu lola woldo aliya mu mira mo da ñu len abedula la de abedula le
right abedula le okay mal jox last third question ni den ma hand over to PMJ amna ku laajte fi tamit mu ne gis nañ ne Gambia political rivals dafa bari. So as a president, of course, da nga wara nek president ñep, president party yep, president nit ñi ñep, la fa ñi ñep. So how will it be your idea lan la UDP am in front pull in case su gaay nekkee on the government ndax dañoo boole ñep together ba pare continue with that coalition ba pare build up a good governance ndax dañoo nekk foofu noonu di fightante comme ne ñoom yaaga nañoo fight te amuñ the government so ndax dafa nekk noonu ndax dafa nekk UDP boo xam ne dañoo indi ñëpp together work with everybody ba pare dimbale dëkk bi in the name of the country.
For that, your affair is self-entrenchment. Okay. For 2026, Barrow has nothing to tell people. Number one, why does he think he deserves 3 terms? So far, he hasn't brought any reason, because he brought in, he's on record saying that he's a fan of 2 terms. The president said in Senegal and said in elsewhere. Now, for him, that is what it is. For the UDP, the party leader, Lawyer Dabo, has already said that he will not serve for more than 1 term, which I think is a very understandable issue. And for the other parties, people tend to stay longer in parties as party leaders, but that's not being sustained by tax money. If it's in America, where tax money is given to Democrats and given to Republicans, it is incumbent that any party leader, who doesn't win an election steps aside or stays much longer, because tax money is being used. So the rules can apply as in government as it applies to the party leader. Now, with regard to the parties, like I said, the parties that have been campaigning and sustaining since 2021 are emerging on top. So take my word to the bank. There will be an NPP coalition, there will be a UDP coalition. I'm not sure what's going to form the third coalition, but if there is a third coalition after that, it may not be a strong coalition, and it will be a 3-way fight. Anything other than a third coalition will be just smaller parties, taking 1% here and 2% there, but these are the 2 opposing forces I see for 2026.
Yeah, Jerejef, Mr. Kurang, hand over to PMJ.
Thank you very much, T-Boy, and also I thank Mr. Kurang. Mr. Kurang, my question will go on the criminal justice system used against some politicians and some other journalists. For instance, we have seen Modou being barred from contesting parliamentary elections because of the Commission of Inquiry's recommendation. And in the short run, we have seen him also cross carpet to NPP, and he is also given a position as the president's advisor. And then we also see other journalists who were invited at the police station for questions, as they said, because they make it very civilized. Although it's an arrest, but the police said they don't arrest them; they invite them at the police station. We have seen all that. Will you be surprised if Mamadu Sabali is nominated to contest parliamentary election in 2026? The system whereby people who were condemned by the recommendations of the Commission inquiries, some of them have been appointed in public office, people like Dr. Nyoguba and the but other people are being punished. What are your observations in this criminal justice system?
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate thing with the justice system and the laws is that coming from a dictatorship sort of to a democracy, there are a lot of institutional instability in that transitional period, which politicians or government or the executive can take advantage of, has taken advantage of, to the detriment of the national interest for Barrow's self-entrenchment agenda. Because if you look at all the manipulations, the lack of partial implementation of Commission recommendation, implementation of the transitional justice system, either the TRRC recommendation, the Constitutional Review Commission recommendations, what we can holistically conclude, Moine Adama Barrow is interested in his self-entrenchment to stay as long as possible, beyond 10 years, beyond 2 terms. And whatever it takes is what he's going to do. So we see that these initiatives that are supposed to establish a level playing field in accordance with the coalition agenda in 2016, he's not abiding by them. He's playing games. He's playing cat and mouse. He's knocking heads together. He's using the power of the executive to frustrate it. He's using his influence in the parliament. So he's doing all these things to frustrate the agenda, because the whole constitution actually, helps with self-entrenchment. So he has no motivation. And if you are not willing to move a constitution, institutional reform will be impossible. Because institutional reform is based on the constitutional reforms. And if you don't have constitutional reform, you cannot have institutional reforms. And if you don't have institutional reform, the administration of justice will be next to impossible. It still remains in one man's hand, like it was in one man's hand for the 22 years of Jammeh control. So, therefore, in effect, we have a democracy, but we have an institutional state capture by Barrow political clique, which basically we are all fighting to remove. And if you see the voice of the opposition is much bigger. Barrow will know, he will see when the results are announced and will be announced and shall be announced before midnight in December 5th, 2026. He will see that most people are like the people of Nyamina, where the NPP candidate is still the elected candidate with 3,000 votes, but if you put the opposition together, it's 6,000. That's Nyamina. 6,000. So basically, people have, you can say since after the presidential, people almost instantly regretted why they voted for the Barrow government, and he justified it with his, mandate in the past 5 years.
Thank you very much for answering that question. The next question is that our degree holders in the system, those with master degrees, those with PhDs, these were the people who are the technocrats in public office. Those that are supposed to serve public interest and national interest, likewise defending public interest and defending national interest. But on the contrary, they are serving the interests of leaders to the detriment of the public, to the detriment of the country. And if you look at some of our parliamentarians also in the House, they were supposed to serve public interests and to protect national interests. But unfortunately, the technocrats, likewise the parliamentarians, are protecting interests of few leaders to the detriment of the national interest. We have seen a situation whereby the president said that he has bribed the parliamentarians with $10,000. He said in the Mandinka dialect that Deputy Nyedugu Daresi Wuli Chandela. And we all know the circumstances that lies behind bribery. What is your take to that? Whereby the technocrats, the degree holders, and the parliamentarians serving interest of some few leaders to the detriment of the public interest and the national interest. What is your take to that?
Yeah, but if you generalize degree holders like that, I will be maybe surprised because not agree completely, because degree holders have been fighting the dictatorship since 1994. And before 1994, degree holders, of course, a lot of degree holders are responsible, and they were able to build institutions. And those institutions have stayed over time. Jarra and his government built a lot of institutions. When the military came, I don't know how many institutions Yajame built that are still existing today. So many of them died on the Jame. And
let me help you before you go further. To be candid, in Jame's regime, the degree holders who were in public office were not challenging him. We are not fighting him. And currently also, the degree holders, those that are supposed to be the technocrats in public office currently, and those that are the parliamentarians who support to protect or defend public interest and national interest, are failing to do so. So what is your take to that?
yeah, I mean, but he was being challenged by people like Hussein Odawo and they are degree holders, Khalifa Salas and
Odawo never served the Jame regimes.
No, but people serving in the government, you have to understand what is the role of a civil servant. Is a civil servant there to tell the politician, I cannot do this? I mean, the only thing you can do is you resign. Those who don't agree with Jame, they resign. You cannot be in the civil service and you are protesting against the president or the government. You don't do that. No civil servant around the world does that.
But you can defend the public interest.
Yeah, sorry, PMJ.
But you can defend the public interest, and I can give you few examples. Dr. Sidak Job, He defended public interest and national interest. He resigned.
He was not a civil servant. He was a politician.
He was the minister for us, and he went for admission. And then you know, something in his absence, he came and resigned forthwith, Dr. Sidat Job.
Yeah, I'm telling you that, you know, if you want to categorize Gambians and say people, intellectuals not doing anything, you will not be able to hold any specific data. So
Gibril Fadia wants to ask some questions. Yeah?
I think what you can hold responsible is politicians and the political parties as entities who have tasked themselves to take the government to task, whether they have done that or not done that.
Yeah, Gibril,
you want to go into the area of, it's just like saying women haven't done anything and men have done that, or people from the north haven't this, people from the east. Intellectuals have resisted in their own way, those who have resisted, and some have gone with the system, just like soldiers have done. Some soldiers resisted, some soldiers gone with the system. In the Barrow system also, Barrow is not a degree holder, but some people have gone with him and some people have not gone with him.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Kurang,
what people do, I believe, is disregard of what qualifies.
Yeah, Mr. Kurang, sorry for interrupting you. Somebody just want to ask a very important question. Gibril?
Mamadi Kurang, Dr. Alagie Mamadi Kurang.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me here. Ntamila fan net ila fans club bombe jeretonu kabirin nim problem o keta the whistleblower nteka ko you are the whistleblower of the Gambia men keta nu jani with the Jarra commission James property careful back so Najele, you are in PDOIS for problem of Natana Soto, Nila Mol Tema, and then who are complaining, Patio Katanyami, you are not happy, you complain many times, but they don't want to change to what you believe the party should be. Tata for Itea decide ko, you know, then you join UDP. First of all, what question and little left in Kala because relinquish of power, member even though Imantara government kono, but within the party level, the leadership never changed. So UDP is the same thing. The leadership never changed. Ite okuok je nyadile, anu ite eba pudla nyadile, fumolia understand.
Well, the leadership, the current leadership of the party is the flag bearer, Raji Hussein Udabo. I mean, I have been an anti-corruption activist for the great part of this transitional period with the Jarra Commission and also with the local government. I haven't seen any incidents of corruption associated with him. I haven't seen any scandal, you know, in terms of financial misappropriation associated with him. The Jarra Commission delved into basically, you can say, since the time of Jawara and onwards. And he hasn't been mentioned even once. I haven't seen him mentioned in any document or anything. Except maybe if there are documents that show that Jammeh wants to target him. But apart from that, I haven't seen him, you know, being mentioned anywhere. So I think he has a good track record considering his age. There are so many other politicians, you know, with much younger age that have got so many other issues. So that you have to give credit where credit is due. That credit is due there. And I believe he's still a man. I've seen him spoken. For the past 10 days, I've traveled around him with the country. I've seen him stood for 1 hour or 45 minutes on his feet and deliver a speech that has no conjectures, no jokes, no attacks, no personal attacks, no political attacks on anybody except the incumbency. He spoke on every policy issue. I think he's intellectually, you know, at a very high level at the moment. You know, he's younger than the President of America and he's got a very sound mind. And I think you know, the UDP obviously has transformed. Anybody who denies that, you're denying, you know, something which is obvious. You see, Dabo was away when the UDP key members of the executive resigned. And before he could come back, those positions were filled up. Tell me which political party has that kind of robust administrative structure in this country, including the NPP. Tell me and give me examples. I know what I'm talking about. That is showing you that the party, here is a party in this country, one of the oldest parties, that has got a structure that can withstand even the absence of the party leader. And I believe that the UDP is formed like that, because as I reflect more on the structure of the UDP, I mean, I would say if there are people who will say, well, we were at home when they come and discuss this, I would have been one of those people. My uncles are very active in the formation of the UDP. But what I can see is that it doesn't depend on any possibility, any person. As you said, for Dabo to be popular among the electorates and among the fan bases, you can't do anything about that. Mandela was more popular after he died than before he died. Or immediately before he died, he was more popular than when he went to Robben Island. So you can't take away that. You cannot drive that away. You cannot just throw that away like a fly, you know, or a mosquito flying on your ear. You cannot. You cannot. That's real. That is beyond human, control. So his popularity, even if anybody makes it your business, you still can't do anything about it. So what can you do anything about? The party structure. Whether he's there or not, no matter how popular he is, the party can function. So the party now, I don't see any other political party with that kind of vibrancy that can do that at the moment. So, you know, the UDP, obviously, for me, is an easy choice. I watch it from far. I'm not there maybe, or you went there because of what is happening at recent. No, I have been discussing with people in UDP for the past 3 years. If I'm interested in discussing with the NPP, I would discuss with the NPP, because if nobody would be blind enough to know that the NPP would want me. I've been invited several times. I'm not saying the president called me. No, Dabo didn't call me, just like how Salifa and Sidia never called me. Because everybody knows I'm an independent person. You don't need to call me if I make up my mind. But obviously, I could have gone to the NPP to pull towards the NPP, and I would have been maybe doing something better and driving a nice car. But that's not why I joined politics. So when I look at the opposition, I'm still an opposition. I've been an opposition longer than many people, because I've been one of Barrow's earliest positions. Since 2017, I've been speaking against Barrow's style of government. That hasn't changed. I'm still in that game. But if I see that it has come to a point in which the UDP means what they have started. What they have started in 1996 was not a financial venture. In 1996, what Husseinu and the people who put him into it, they didn't put him into it to go and seek a financial adventure. And if it was a financial adventure, he would have given it up. I believe that reflected more. The UDP flag bearership selection was a moment of truth. When I say a moment of truth, the party has to speak truth to itself. Remember all those months and years that passed, and people are saying nobody knows what's happening. People are not saying anything. And finally they spoke. And what did they say? They say our party is not for sale. And Hussein is the most popular person among us. So we're going to give him the flag bearer. Which party is going to say, this guy is the most popular among us, but we will not give it to him, we will give it to somebody else who is not popular? That's not politics. That's suicide. You don't do that. You will give the election to your most popular person. So that one, I wasn't there when it was decided. That's not my business for while I was in there. But when I'm there now, what put me there is because I see that I want a change of this regime. I want a change of a system. And that's what I've been advocating for since 2018, right? So I joined somebody who is advocating for the same thing. you know, and basically that makes me consistent in what I'm asking for. Why? Because there's corruption in this government. I cannot be somewhere where I feel the change is not possible and I'm just there just for the sake of being there. I mean, I don't eat ideology.
Yo, so I heard if you have for the country tour lawyer it's a lot of changes in it because he was addressing the people needs and ranging from economic all the way to corruption to agriculture to all these sectors, right? And now I'm asking you, Niatara, for if an contribution of a jeleva in Natale, every year. So why don't we get to advise in the party put a change to talk about what people are concerned with?
Yeah, I think that's obvious. I think that's obvious that I have been given the say because for a political party, one of the biggest voices they can give you is when a party leader is sitting and they call you to come and address the country. So, you know, they gave me that the first day I joined the talk. So, you know, if they give you a platform to speak, I speak from what is in my guts. They didn't tell me go there and say this and say this. So when I speak to them, and I speak to the country, I speak to Barrow, who is the president, and I speak to everybody that cares to listen, either at that moment or in social media or in other kinds of media or audios. So basically, the party giving me the platform, there are, you know, hundreds of speakers, young people ready to speak. So if they give me a platform to speak, I appreciate that. I think that's giving me a voice to say how things should run. Obviously, if they give you a big platform like that, you know that internally, if you start speaking, they will listen to you. I mean, that means they have respect for my opinion.
Yo, Abaraka Bake, last memory coalition issues because Mobe Alon no control. I'm one of the Yes to Alliance member with Honorable Fabaka Tombonjada. Dole Alliance made with MPP and the other coalition partners. Side. I told that side, I mean, I'm hearing that Kafoko Esa Fanul, they call it a coalition, which I don't think y'all told invite me. Barry, Mayente Jakalije, Itoloko, if you have membership, let's say if you have the majority, it would not count in the coalition. So main counter Rombe na Ngakekilinti. Then from there, Sinana flag bearer Tombong. And possibly, only Kafoko, maybe Asikeno, it a lawyer Dabo Tombona. Is that a kind of coalition you are looking for?
Yeah, I think I'm not an executive to speak on behalf of the UDP, but in my personal opinion, what I feel is that the UDP has selected a flag bearer, which is the Usain Udabo, and they are, you know, ready to take him to the election. They are obviously listening to people who want to dialogue and, you know, any possible coalitions. I've been in the Kunkuja meeting. There were members from different political parties who responded to the invitation. And they came to the meeting, which was the last meeting of the tour at Wellingara. They came and they spoke, and all of them, I could see the desire in them to join. And I've seen so many other people like me also, who were politicians. Now they have turned towards the UDP and seeing it as a viable option, you know, and the most realistic viable option to remove Barrow in 2026. So I see UDP pulling, you know, and I don't see no fear in UDP. It's very open when you go inside. Nobody controls you as such. You would have in other parties, don't say this, don't do this. As people think, the UDP is very open, you know, at the senior level, or executive level, and also you've seen in the recent leadership election, they have a very good structure, regional, constituency levels, ward levels. So basically, you coming in, anybody forming a coalition is coming in with a party that's very formidable. if you could pull, some votes, and you join with UDP, it will be even much better. And I think people are realizing that individually people are joining from parties because the only available option, they cannot change the narrative. One thing they cannot do is they can't change the narrative. We can hold how many coalition meetings, but we cannot change the narrative that, one or two parties have been going around the country for the past 5 years telling people that they deserve it. So when people come, no matter how many coalition meetings they hold and no matter what statements they make, they will not be able to change the reality on the ground. And in the end, they will have to play by the rules on the ground. So I hope that many of the younger parties coming will see that I think they can come to join the UDP, one thing. They can form coalitions. I think the UDP has shown before it forms coalition, and they can also go in and where they maintain their identity and work together with the UDP. But I think that's the way. Otherwise, it will not be easy. Yeah, the UDP, stand a very good chance of winning the 2026 elections.
So that is ka foko Alteson yet leader do tombo besides lawyer da.
I mean, based on what?
Based on coalition. In case you left a coalition or killer, but you call lawyer da but take killer nyaton koti. Falbe son na wala.
Ambola mango atekela on what criteria?
That's right. So that is not possible.
Hmm? No, I'm asking based on what criteria?
We're gonna go for coalition, but every political party gonna bring in their people. May agree. Then from there we're gonna go and pick a flag bearer.
Yeah, but they have their right. They have the right to say what they want. I think that's their democratic right. And, they have the right to make any criteria for themselves. And UDP also has the right to decide the best course of action. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gibril Fadia. And then, I do apologize for interrupting the questions that was asked prior before Gibril Fadia entered. Still now, I'll give you the opportunity to answer that question fully. And then I will just give you a recap so that, to read the questions to you again. That is, we have degree holders in form of a bachelor degree, master degree, and PhD in public office who are serving the interests of few leaders within the system to the detriment of the public interest, to the detriment of the national interest. And then also in the House of Parliament also we have seen parliamentarians who fail to protect public interest and national interests, but they protect and defend the interests of few leaders within the system. And I give you example of Dr. Sida Job, who was a foreign affairs minister in the Second Republic, who resigned based on national interest. But also we have seen Mambure Njai, who ended up being charged of economic crime in the Second Republic, and later on he was given chance also to be finance minister in the Third Republic, and he ended up being fired. People who are the technocrats, because we have seen so many elapse, we have seen so many damages caused within the ministries. We have seen the Ministry of Health, we have seen Ministry of Agriculture, we have seen Ministry of Environment, and etc. The list goes on and on and on. We are seeing damages within the jurisdictions of those ministries, and you have the technocrats within those ministries. What is your take to that?
Yeah, but I don't understand. What do you want me to comment on exactly?
What I mean is that the technocrats, they're supposed to protect national interest and public interest. They should not protect the interests of few leaders in the system to the detriment of the national interest. And we are seeing that happening. We are seeing the technocrats defending the interests of few leaders in the system to the detriment of the state. And then also we have seen a situation whereby the president said, Deputy Nyeduku Dalasi Wuli Tanera, meaning he has bribed the parliamentarians with $10,000. So in such case, the parliamentarians, they supported the head of the government to the detriment of national interest. So what is your take to that kind of awful act?
Well, I think every citizen has equal or equitable responsibility to protect national interests. Just like in the, obviously, the higher you go, the more burden of responsibility falls on you. But simply as Muslims and Christians, we believe that everybody knows the difference between good and right from the time you become mature at the age of 16 or 17 or 18. So from that age, you are fully, to the Almighty Lord, you are fully accountable for every crime you committed, every sin you committed, every good deed you performed, and every bad deed you performed, no matter whether it's as small as a grain of sand, you are responsible. So if that is the case, people cannot come and say, oh, so-and-so should not be held responsible because he's a junior officer or he's a degree holder. God doesn't know who is a degree holder or who doesn't know ABC. God holds equally that man from before we were born, according to the Quran, we already know what is good, what is bad. Nobody teaches you. Deep inside your heart, you know what is good, what's bad. So there's equal responsibility. People in higher responsibility, the most responsible, if I would hold people accountable, I'll start with the president. I will not start with degree holders. Whether the president is a high school or so, I'll put more burden of responsibility on him. Then I'll go to the vice president, then I'll go to the speaker of the house, then I'll go to the deputy speaker, then I'll go to the ministers, the cabinet, the justice, the key ministers, justice, finance, interior, local government and lands, education, health, transport and infrastructure, whether roads are being constructed without standards. There's so many responsible, but that's why they said, the Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew likes to say, you know, unless we hold people responsible, and you cannot build a meritocratic system if there is no responsibility. So at every level of society, we must hold each other responsible. And then we must be able to compensate people based on merit. But that kind of social system or political system cannot be established once the president is not interested in it. Whether he's a dictator or he's a manipulator or a self-entrenchment, he cannot be interested in meritocracy. Because meritocracy does not support self-entrenchment, it does not support dictatorship, it does not support inefficient government. So it starts with the president, and then you come to his cabinet and the parliament. Instead of who is a degree holder, who is not, let us, the people whom responsibility is given, has a lot to be accountable for.
Thank you very much, T-Boy.
Waaw jërëjëf PMJ jërëjëf honorable ñu ngi am benn 15 minutes more to go waaye am na questions yu dugg si waaye am na question moo la laajoon nag fanaa danga ko xaw a bypass parce que kii mu ngi doon laajte ne ndax yéen soo leen toogee di ngeen boole ñëpp together ndax dafa nekk tamit still rivals comme NPP niñ ne ñoom seen parti rek.
No, I mean, from now, with the UDP government, it's to be very inclusive. Because one thing is, you have to understand, the NPP government, it was just Adama Barrow. One person just came out of nowhere and said he's forming his own political party. Because he has power and money, everybody, all kinds of interested people have to, jump around and surround themselves around him. Even Jammeh was better because they have their circle of military before they come, but Barrow was bare. He was not surrounded. He was bare. He was an easy prey. So everybody come from everywhere and connect themselves with him and make themselves look like, the same mom and dad with him, and they have interest for him. They are ready to watch his back, which is not true. People are there for their interests. You cannot say that for the UDP. But the fact that I just told you and I proved to you that in the absence of Dabo, the party was able to continue and progress and recover and fill very significant gaps, like the organizing secretary, even without the party leader being on the ground in his absence. So the UDP is not about Dabo. The UDP government is not about, Dabo Kunda. It's not about, Mankaman Kunda or Bansang. It's more independent and more vibrant. There are so many different people of different opinions, independent, that may not agree with the party leadership, and they're not gonna just let things go. I see the UDP far beyond that. When it goes into government, you're gonna see, different people coming with different opinions, people disagreeing. Right now, nobody can disagree with Barrow, because once you disagree with him, you're out. Because he himself came out of the UDP, chendem, mudam, establish al papi with Bopam. So he doesn't owe anybody in UDP, in NPP, anything. He is the king. Dabo is not a king. No matter how much you take, he's popular. Yes, he's popular. But obviously, if he comes to power, there are things which, when he does it, he will get criticism. Right. Barrow is not getting criticism. And Barrow, unfortunately, is not able to process the information that is there to institutionalize the presidency. Because the president is different from the presidency. But the quality of the presidency depends on, obviously, the quality of the president. So there is a problem right now that the Barrow government is not able to be inclusive because it is hijacked by vested interests, fighting over, just like Kunol Benganya fighting your Kelela Nganyala boy. Nganyati Oninga Menolela Nganyako, you see some of them coming back to the UDP and saying things that they have never. You see them go to I have been an experienced man in investigation. You see some of them come to the commission like they never defended Barrow. They will disparage him. We have seen that here, and it will happen again. So this is how it will go, and God will make it that, because the story has to come. They have to come and tell things about Barrow, because how they were dispensing of national asset, buying cars for 12 million. When you take your spouse or your relative to RVH, you have to bring your own bed sheet. And these people are driving cars of 12 million. Some of them, where they come from. Even when they are young, we are young, we cannot even afford breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Even now, if you go back to their villages, where their fathers' houses are dilapidated. And these people are still driving $12 million cars. Then, yefi kamulos have bopa money.
right mbokk yi ñu déglu comme ni ngeen ko waxee rek yéen a ngi déglu Freedom Radio fii nii si Gambia dina wax ne Mamadi Kurang lañ fi am Mamadi Kurang nag mu ngi join UDP bu yaagut ni moom lañ fi am tey ak interview fii nii dinañ leen play nag interview bi after of course su jeexee ñu ngi live fii nii on Freedom Radio right man la seen host T-Boy Tijuana fii nii dinañ wax ne in the next seconds dinañ dugalaat gars yi incha allah waaw di leen wax ne rek bu leen fàtte yéen a ngi déglu Freedom Radio fii.
The farmers are hungry, and we're gonna tell them the reality as clear as it is. So the Barrow government cannot even run like a normal government because one man takes everything, and it's just like not just a 8-year-old child. Not just saku halis, paper notes, mu teko ci bopam, $8, mu teko ci bopam, mu gene ci street bi. Right, borom banana bi dina ko fay $1,000 do ko yek sax. That's where Barrow government is going. One man sees power and run it with it. And all the eagles and the wolves run after him. And then they are taking him on a ride for 10 years and they say they want to go for 28 years. No, what I think abedula, and Molly right sort of to say that Anyanta dula, that's what I do. Ruk, Gambia's law, then go what I resist. That cannot be. That cannot be. Barrow cannot run away with people's power. Mom cannot defut for Bopam. It's not the people of Kurang or Mankamakunda that voted for him. Gambians voted for him. Look at it. In 2021, Barrow is 200 million in his account. How much will be in his account in 2026? Oh, come on, man. God is one.
Right. Jerejef, Mr. Kurang, manako hara mahano over to PMJ, ñu wrap up, su ko defee den nga bàyyi sa last kàddu yi pour Gambien si ak Gibril Fadia tamit su ko defee den nag ñu dinañ playal askan bi again dinañ ko playal on repeat after the live bi su jeexee su ko defee den ñi déglu doon interview bi déglu Mr. Kurang lim am pour Gambien si ma hand over PMJ ñu ngi am last 10 minutes ñu wrap up.
Thank you, Keyboy. Mr. Kurang, the Gambia is highly affected with the philosophy of destruction. If you look at our sea, the river Gambia, which was a place of survival, which was a means of survival rather, which was a source of income for Gambians. But today, it is highly affected with scarcity of fish. And then if you look at our forestry, which we have left naturally, which was providing boost meat to Gambians, and it was also a source of income generation for Gambians. But because of the philosophy of destruction today, those forests are destroyed based on the housing estate and based on Western exploitation in form of timber exportation. And then, if you look at our House of Parliament, it is highly affected with philosophy of destruction in the sense that the parliamentarians who should have enacted laws that will improve the allowances and the salaries of the low-income earners, the military, the police, the teachers, and even within the ministries, the employees who are at grade 3, grade 4. But now we are seeing the parliamentarians in several occasions adjusting their salaries, adjusting their allowances, and then now they are talking about when a parliamentarian, retires from the House of Parliament, is paid benefit with his wife and children. And we have seen these philosophy of destruction to what the state kufa. But those monies should have been spent in buying incubators in the hospitals, buying medicine. But now, surprisingly, the political parties who have their candidates in the House of Parliament are not seen condemning such acts. And Gambians do not see those political parties being trustworthy. UDP have their candidates in the House of Parliament. APRC Noto Alliance, APRC Fabagaton Monkam, the NPP, with other political parties. But we have not seen them condemning such acts of the parliamentarians. How trustworthy are the political parties who have their candidates in the House? How trustworthy are they? Dr. Kurang.
I think Mr. Kurang muted.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking and I didn't know I'm muted. I said I think there is a limit to what the politicians can do, considering how much control the Barrow government has over the parliament, the House of Parliament, and the executive and the judiciary. The state, Gambia is like an absolute democracy, you know. With the 1997 laws, yeah, Gambia, you know, was interested in absolute power, and the executive carries so much power. So, in that case, there are several forces at play. Yes, I've seen recently a parliamentarian, for example, asking Paro about 3 babies in one incubator, and the response of the president just tells you how he thinks. He's talking about Listikar. He's not talking about any policy document or policy report or intelligence report. You know, but then you can see also there is a tactic because of the enormous power the executive carries. They kind of put the parliament sometimes in a quid pro quo kind of situation, or let's say, as the Americans would say, pork barrel. You know, when budgets are being discussed, there is a pork barrel philosophy, which means that, you know, racha sakanam. No, all of you, they were Americans in a pork barrel politics. You know, racha sakanam. You know, kuneka yang buga sub budget visa area is you become a bit selfish. That's natural. But then obviously the excesses are there. The parliament is increasing. The sad thing, like I said, parliament said argues, and government, civil servants, senior civil servants argue that inflation is going up, but nobody is talking about the farmers. Inflation is going up, and the farmers are being paid the same price for the peanuts. So, the society has become, because of lack of the central discipline at the central level, which is the government, there is a lack of discipline in distribution of the resources of the country. With those who are having or in power or in richer are getting richer and more powerful, and those who are poor are getting poorer and poorer. So that's very sad, and that's the existing situation. I think when people say a system change is needed, that's the system we have to turn upside down so that farmers can get more money for what they produce and work in their farms, simply because we are reprocessing the what they produce. Not only the groundnut farmers, but the peanut farmers, the rice farmers. Every farmer has get a bigger stake in the economy by managing our import substitution policies and infant industries, encouragement of local industries. You know, these are things which Barrow is not interested in. He's focused on his third term. You know, like you don't even know how. So, right? You know, when the central, the apex of government, which is the presidency, is diverted, or how do we say it? Its attention is diverted from the national objective or the greater national good. Nothing else can you see in a country that will be in place.
Thank you very much. But also, if you look at the expensive house rent expensive basic commodity costs, and the rate of the unemployment rate concerning the jobless Gambians. These are a burden that every Gambians out of 100 is encountering on daily basis. What are some of the factors that leads to expensive house rent, expensive basic commodity costs, and the rate of joblessness which is increasing? What are some of the factors that warrant to this?
Well, in economics, we say simply demand exceeds supply extremely. In fact, as demand is increasing, the population is the force behind the demand is increasing. The supply of houses is stagnant. I mean, at least from a central point of view, only individuals are building houses. The government is not building houses since Bakote housing estate in the 1980s. The Gambia government has failed to build a single housing unit for public servants. I mean, obviously, that means that's a failure of the Jammeh government. There continues to be a failure of the Barrow government. Instead, worse for the Barrow government is selling the land, which is supposed to develop to solve the housing problem. It's selling it to private commercial interests instead of using it for public housing. Which country has solved poverty in this world without solving the housing problem? Because housing is the #1 cause of poverty. If you don't have a place to live, everything else is secondary. Once you eat, you want to have a place to serve on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs for every human being. It's internationally agreed. Food, shelter, and clothing. Food is difficult in the market. They're struggling to buy food to feed their families. How can they build houses for themselves? So a responsible government understands this and knows that the state must intervene. Why are pensions being deducted? Not for the government to use the social security money to go on ventures, spending ventures, and without building houses for the civil servants, low-cost housing for policemen, soldiers, teachers, nurses, civil servants. This is not happening. Everybody has to fend for yourself. The big men can build houses. The businessmen can build. The big civil servants can use their per diems and build story buildings, mansions. You know, there are other means that they are using to build houses. The people abroad, yeah, obviously, they have higher incomes. They can build. But the teachers and the nurses that are carrying the country, the health workers, the education workers, the soldiers, the security, the police, they cannot afford this. So they keep on renting. So as more and more civil servants rent, housing becomes shortage. The demand is high, the supply is low. So the government is the only reason why housing is a problem right now. And they want to go to court, control the landlords. That's ridiculous. There's price control. Price control never worked in the Gambia. In the 1980s, we tried it. It failed miserably. It did not save us. We had to resort to the economic recovery program of 1985-86 to come up. Price controls failed. It completely failed, and it will fail again if it is implemented, whether in housing or in the markets of Serakunda and Banjul. Price control or in rice, price control is always doomed for failure. What you have to do is to address the supply side. The government has to address the supply side. The municipalities have to look at that, but more particularly the government. Instead of selling land, they have to build land for people. So Barrow government does not understand that. Instead, it's selling the land like we don't want the land, or our children don't want it, our grandchildren don't want it. They're selling it. Where is the government going to build if you sell all the reserved land? Where is the government going to build to solve the housing problem for the people?
Jërëjëf.
I think I will ask you this question and then hand over you to Tijan or Gibril Fadia.
Yeah, we will wrap up. We will wrap up in 5 minutes. Yeah, yes, you know, and then yeah.
Yeah.
5 minutes. 5 minutes. We are gonna.
Wa ndax am gaay bëgg lañ la bay waye nak am na ñu bari ñuy text ne xam nga rek question yu bari nak ñu ko am fi sa waye mënuma la laaj yépp waaw so ñu minimize ko rek PMJ ñu minimize ko rek question yi def ko short su ko defee den affaire yi mëna tane
waaw léegi readal questions yooyu because it's very important. It is coming from our audience. Hello, T-Boy.
Wow, first question bi mooy mu ngi jógee si ku ñëw déglu mu ngi ñëw déglu Gambia mu ne problème yi food bi wax ngeen ko waaye gis nañ ne tamit nga am lekka tamit ba pare amuloo electricity bu constant problème la mu ne since time GUC Gambia ñu ngi si nawek naka ñu ngi si générateur so mu ne lan ngeen bëgg a def pour yéen soo leen toogee UDP pour mun a change di naka energy sector yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you diagnose the energy sector, you see problems. My personal point of view is that first thing is in the energy sector, you have to take out of corruption. In the procurement, there is a problem in the procurement in NAWEC. In the 2017, when Jame was going, NAWEC had about debts of about $30 million. So, procurement is the number one problem. You got to solve it. You got to streamline it. You got to look at sustainable energy. Gambia has a lot of sunlight. The government must invest in sustainable energy as an alternative to fossil fuel. And, that's the long run for a small country. That's one of the ways out, And if you solve that, you will save a lot of foreign currency that we are using to import heavy fuel for the NAWEC generators, which is costing billions, in procurement. So this is one of the areas which I think the UDP government will look at to have a long-term solution, energy to be sustainable, procurement to be streamlined and competitive. And I think that because there's so many NAWEC's problems are very deep-rooted, and they must have a very strategic approach to dealing with these problems.
Wow. Beneen second question bi mu ne am na ku laajte mu ne Barrow ak Yaya Jammeh ak Jawara debts yëpp soo ko boolee is a lot billions yi nga dégg yëpp so mu ne yéen UDP soo leen toogee how are you gonna solve this ñun suñ debts yi ba pare ñuy mun a sustain suñ boppa.
One of the things that the party leader has been talking about is the problem of debts. The so-called government like Jawara and Jammeh put together, if they borrow $1 billion, Barrow in 10 years has almost equaled that amount without the necessary institutions and infrastructure showing for it. Like we said, Jawara constructed roads by splitting hills. In Gambia we call them mountains, whatever, but then in Nema, in Bansang, in Jahali, these were impassable a mountain or hill in the 1970s. So people die trying to take their cars and vehicles on top of these mountains. They have been tamed by Jawara. Jammeh came and did the same, built some bridges. We see Barrow extending, feeder roads and shorter roads. And we think that the debts that Barrow incur is unnecessary.
PMJ, don't mute, please.
So, what a UDP government will do is to first of all manage this the fundamental problem of this high debt occurrence, which is discretionary expenditure. The Barrow government is completely guilty of spending beyond its means and not controlling the outflow of expenditure in not controlling corruption. So simply by focusing on streamlining corruption, streamlining leakages, controlling discretionary expenditure, streamlining government systems so that they can be more efficient and more lightweight. I think those are fundamental steps that every government see results when they apply and implement those policies. So those, I think, are going to be the key policies of the UDP government: to control expenditure, to control discretionary expenditure, to come up with better policies of controlling leakages, to improve domestic investment in order to increase earnings and national output, create more jobs, more income for the country by taking advantage of our natural resources, not just signing out, fishing agreements, agricultural land agreements, TDA area agreements. All the income areas, Barrow is selling them outright just for quick cash instead of maintaining them and upgrading them as key national assets and investments that can generate revenue for the country.
So Mr. Kurang, kon suñ la understand kon which means the yen solen toge all contracts yi nga xamne they were all contracts yoo xam ne it is a disadvantage contract pour ñun Gambia comme like suñ sovereignty da ngeen ko cancel yëpp ta.
They have to be reviewed. They have to be reviewed. These are not going to be emotional decisions like undo them simply because the previous regime did them. They have to be reviewed. I think every state has a right to review sovereign agreements when there's a change of sovereignty or change of government. The incoming government has a right to review the policies, the bilateral and multilateral agreements entered into, the contracts that have been entered into, to review them and get legal and financial advice, on what is, in the best interest of the state. So failure to review them would automatically compromise the existing, the new government, and put it in the same trap that the outgoing government, was experiencing. So no doubt, I believe that UDP government will scrutinize each and every one of those bilateral and multilateral agreements and contracts that are entered into and that are causing the Gambian citizens so much hardship, loss of revenue, lack of opportunity, lack of jobs, because that will be the mandate. If the people vote out this government, it means that they have no confidence in the government. And if they have no confidence in the government, most of the things that the government do have to be looked at.
Right, jërëjëf for those answers. Gibril mu laaj ko last question moom it ñu den PMJ Hanover ko ñu then close the program by another time. Yes, Gibril.
All right. Alagie Mamadi, near Kontom back, near Tentu Jai for your comment here. I'm content about everybody is happy. People are texting me, but the last one, Lieutenant in Karachio domain, that is your know-how, volume economics. Nigel signed the Dalasi is going crazy. SEFA is overtaking the Dalasi. So I tell you, as a solution to that.
Yeah, you see, the Dalasi is more or less like the temperature of the Gambian economy. When Jarra was leaving, the Dalasi to the US dollar was about 9 or 10, or less than 10.
No, $5. I remember $5 in 1990 before I left.
Okay, very good. So it was at a very strong level. And for 22 years of Jammeh, it went up to about 30 something, if I am not mistaken, by 2016. Which is almost like 700% drop in strength. And now we have seen, it's gone, within just a period of 8 years, it's dropped to almost 100% under the Barrow government. That has implications, because what that means is that we are importing inflation. Anytime the dollar loses strength, food and other prices become much higher for the local consumers, because these things are not manufactured in the Gambia. So to attack this issue, like I said, for UDP government has to be two-sided. There has to be, the side where we address the supply side of the issues to improve the capacity of local production, to ensure that local industries and entrepreneurs are given the strength, the support to be able to produce more and employ more people. But then obviously also we have to address the expenditure side, the demand side, to make sure that, government expenditure does not blow out of proportion, where budget deficits become wider and wider, and the revenue leakages continue. So when we do take some of those measures by the domestic, boosting the domestic industry, including agriculture and tourism and fisheries, local production will increase. It will bring in foreign exchange, which will obviously strengthen the dollar. And by judiciously managing government expenditure, the other side of the equation, as expenditure goes down, obviously the demand pull inflation is also going to be streamlined. So it's a two-way strategy. Will adopt to ensure that local capacity increases to increase foreign exchange earnings, to reduce the pressure on the dollar, and also government expenditure is managed and properly invested to make sure that productive investments obviously are going to help strengthen the dollar.
jërëjëf PMJ ma hanovala ten ñu thank sun guest bi then ñu tagalo sun gani si interview.
Thank you very much T-Boy di jaajëfal suñ guest bi di Alhaji Mamadi Kurang mu ne docteur bi moom ñu génne ko te waaye nag man docteur bi moom nawle naa ko nag because saa waay moom definitely is fit to be in that title. te tamit di jaajëfal rek Gibril Fadia te tamit suñ audience yi tamit suñ déglukat yi tamit di leen jaajëfal te tamit di leen won ne tamit ñu ngi create more space ba nga xam ne ñoom seen boppa they will be given the opportunity in the future ñuy laajte seen questions yi parce que seen questions yi am na solo trop parce que Freedom radio askan bi la mu ngi foofu noonu as voice of the voiceless mun naa wax ne radio la bu nga xam ne tamit ñu bari tey yaakaar nañ ko pour ñu mun a jotali seen kaddu du ma am lu ma def rek because suñ guest bi di Alhaji Mamadi Kurang moom fu mu nekk nii sax mu ngi low battery to tàggatoo bi daal moom dinañ am fii nii ba beneen yoon incha allah te tamit yaakaar naa ne tamit saa yu soxlee waat Alhaji Mamadi Kurang dinañ ko mun a am.
waaw jërëjëf.
kii mooy ma delloo si.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Kurang, and for Gibril, absolutely. Degree, Freedom Radio, Peace, Education, Thursday, PMJ Moy send host Fili, Finkan Moy Honorable UDP, Honorable Mamadi for happy New Year, and many success from Freedom Day. Jërë ngeen jëf.